Hey everybody, my name is Joe. I'm a doctoral student studying clinical psychology, and this is Psych Made Simple. Now today we're going to continue the ACT series, talking about acceptance and commitment therapy. And last time we talked about thought diffusion. Now today we're going to talk about a related process called here acceptance or willingness. And this is, if you watched my video on thought diffusion, you may remember that really focuses on your thoughts and observing your thoughts and kind of detaching from negative thoughts. Now that's very related to this process of acceptance, but acceptance has to do more so with negative experiences, which can also include thoughts, but a lot of times is more focused on negative emotions or like physical sensations, things like that. Now, I think it's helpful when you're thinking about acceptance to also think about the opposite of that, which in this case is avoidance of those experiences. Now, let's think about the process of avoidance and kind of it becoming a pattern. So if you intentionally avoid unpleasant thoughts and feelings, memories, could be, sensations too, like physical sensations, then that, repeated avoidance becomes a habit. This is something that we all engage in, right? Where we have certain things that are unpleasant and we avoid doing them. And that sounds really reasonable, but when it becomes that habit of avoiding the unpleasant, then it causes problems because it can stop us or prevent us from moving toward our goals and values. Because if you think about it, a lot of times, if you have a certain goal, if it was really easy to achieve, then you just do it, right? But there's a lot of times there's unpleasant experiences standing in the way of whatever that goal may be. Now, the opposite of this process of experiential avoidance is that acceptance and willingness that's part of that ACT model. And that's promoting psychological flexibility, as we'll see, because if you intentionally go out of your way to engage in those unpleasant thoughts, feelings, experiences, memories, then that can break that avoidance pattern and avoidance habit, and it can build that psychological flexibility, right? Which is ultimately the goal, if we go back to this previous slide, of all these processes. You're trying to increase your psychological flexibility, or something that we also like to call wisdom, right, in general, of just being able to do what matters to you and being able to kind of be flexible in the way you're thinking about different things going on. And by breaking that habit, we can enable ourselves to move toward our goals and toward our values. Now, I thought, and this is kind of a common example used in ACT, but I thought a good example of this process is thinking about if you think about rain, right? And a lot of people don't like getting wet. A lot of people think that rain is unpleasant in a lot of ways. So let's imagine someone who really hates the rain. Every time they've ever been in the rain, they just think about, oh my gosh, I can't look at my phone because my phone's going to get wet. I can't stand my clothes being wet and having to dry off afterwards. And we attach all of these negative thoughts, negative evaluations about the experience, right? Even when we're not there. So if you think about rain, or if you look outside and it's raining, you think all these negative thoughts about rain. But then we can also imagine a person who really likes the rain, right? Some people really do. It kind of cools the weather off. Sometimes it's almost like going in the pool where you go outside and you can get wet and it's kind of a good feeling, right? So they can kind of attach a positive evaluation to that same feeling. But let's go back to that kind of negative person who's thinking negatively about the rain. If they build that habit of not ever engaging in that experience that they have labeled unpleasant, then if it's raining, that's going to stop them from going outside, right? And if we think of the very extreme example, let's say you have to walk a little bit to get to your car, and let's say there's some job that you enjoy working at, but the parking lot is kind of far away from the building, so you have to walk through the rain some. Then this hatred of rain in a really extreme circumstance can really prevent you from living out your goals or living out your values, because it would prevent you from going to that thing that you enjoy, whether it be a job or another thing, right? And in that case, this rain, or that avoidance pattern of every time you see rain, you're like, oh, I hate rain, all those negative things attached to it, and you're in a habit of avoiding rain, then you're not going to live out your values, right? And you're not going to live out your goals. But alternatively, even if you are that person that hates rain, if you go out and you embrace it and you just say, you know what, even though I think it's unpleasant, I want to increase my level of psychological flexibility, or I want to just be a person who's more willing to do unpleasant things. And then if you can just objectively observe the experience, you might start having some of those thoughts of the people who really like rain, right? Of like, oh, okay, there are some things that are pleasant about being wet. Or maybe it stays unpleasant and you can observe it and say, okay, this experience is unpleasant, but at least this experience is building up tolerance and building a habit of engaging in unpleasant things. So if we go back to this, then that person who is willing to go out in the rain can go to that job on the office when it's a super rainy day, or they can go to the gym or whatever it may be, that activity that is living out whatever their values are, they can still engage in that even though there's an unpleasant experience along the way. Now, rain is a pretty simple example, and a lot of you might be thinking, oh, rain isn't that bad, so, why are you using that as an example? Well, there might be, it's hard for me to know what your unpleasant, thoughts, feelings, memories are, but I'm sure all of us have those, right? All of us have those things that we avoid. Now, if there's a, conviction for me to offer in this video, I would say in a healthy way and in a healthy space, part of this is, ACT is done with a therapist, a lot of times, but these skills can still be helpful for anyone. But in a healthy way and in a healthy space, I encourage you to try to engage in some of those unpleasant things that are maybe holding you back. And maybe it's a real experience that you don't like, but you'll have to engage in it to engage in your goals or to achieve your goals, right? And there might be something that's coming to mind. There might be something that you need to think about, because a lot of these habits build up kind of unconsciously without us even knowing the things that we're avoiding sometimes. So I encourage you to think about that. Notice the thoughts, right? Go back to that diffusion concept we talked about in the last video. Notice those negative thoughts you're having about whatever the experience is, and challenge yourself to try to engage in some of those unpleasant things. Even if it's not for some immediate goal, it at least increases your acceptance and your flexibility to be able to do unpleasant things. So if you like the video or if you like the content, then please give me a like and subscribe to see all the other videos I'm going to do. And if you have any comments, of course, please leave a comment. And if you want to leave a suggestion for other videos to do, please do that in the comments. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you have in the comments, and also make videos about whatever content you guys would like, because ultimately the goal of this channel is to help other people understand psychology, understand personality, or whatever you want to understand. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.